from the year Tafshin Mem Aleph. And Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, from the Israel, speak from the Israel. V'yikchu Truma, they shall take from me a Truma, me'ez kol isha she'yidvenu liboy, from every person that his heart donates and gives. Tikchu as Trumasi, you will take my Truma. V'zois ha-Truma she'tikchu mitam, and this is the Truma that you will take from them. So everybody speaks about it. Chazal speak about it. Rashi brings it down. It says 3 times the word Truma. Razal, the Chazal saying, Gimel Truma is never a parsha. It says 3 times the word Truma in this parsha. Yichuli Truma, they shall take from me a Truma. Tichlu Truma, so you should take my Truma. Zoisa Truma should tichlu mi'itam, and this is the Truma you will take from them. It's known the question concerning this. What's the idea of these trumas in the service of a person? In other words, the Chazal and Rashi go into other explanations about what this truma involves. Rebbe Chassidus wants to know what is it the 3 trumas represent in a person's service to the Eibush. Bira Inyan, who the explanation of this matter is the Ine Truma Aleph. The first truma, Ashkos of Yikli Truma, where it says, they shall take from me a Truma, Koi ala Torah, is referring to the Torah. But word b'medrash, like it's explained in the medrash, Hadod, this is what it says, a good gift I have given to you. Teirasi altazov, do not desert, do not leave behind my Torah. So what does this mean? So we see that the idea of Torah is called a leka, something that we take. So v'yichuli Truma is talking about the Torah that's taken. So v'yichuli, that's what it means. You shall take to me, for me. We'll see a deeper meaning of the word li. That Torah nitnalan of matanim al. The Torah was given to us as a gift from above. That's why all we have to do is take it. Meaning, it's something that we were given a present, now we have to take. For Betania, like explained in Tanya. Abram was merited his levels, by his different actions and traveling in holiness, that he was traveling upwards from one level to another level. Like it says, that Abram traveled and he went on and he traveled. So in other words, this indicates not just his physical travels, but it indicates the idea of his going up in Avodas Hashem. That is why he merited whatever he merited. But us Yidden, Yerusha Matani Ilon. This is an inheritance and a gift. That Hashem gave us his Torah of a Hilbish Baruch Tzoynev, our Pastor is Baruch, and he enclosed in the Torah his will and his wisdom. We know that by the Eibishter, like the Alter Rebbe says in the beginning of Tanya, the Eibishter is one with his Chachma, he's also one with his will. Meaning, so therefore, the Chachma of the Eibishter and the Ratzon of the Eibishter is Am Yichudim, they are joined in the essence of Hashem, in a total, complete unity. It's as if the Eibishter gave us himself. He transmitted to us himself. When he gave us the Torah, he gave us himself. Famous Rashi Tevis, or the word Anoichi. The Anoichi is Tevis, Anon Nafshik Savis Yehovis. I have written myself in, and I have given the Torah. Given myself through the Torah. Like it says in the Zohar. On the pasuk V'yichuli Truma, famous question, the Farshim also speak about it. Why does it say li? To say V'yichhu Truma. So the Zohar has an interesting translation of the word li. Not to me, not for me, but me. You are taking me. The li, Kaloimar Oisi. When it says V'yichuli Truma, that means me. You are taking me. The Eibishter says to the Yid. This is also a similar idea. We find the Medrash. You are taking me. Therefore, the Zohar says if it says v'yichuli truma, that you are taking me, so then there's two separate things over here. We are taking the Eibishter and we're taking truma. So it should have said Vav Achibur, V'havalei L'maymar v'yichuli v'truma. It should have said they shall take me, the Yidden are taking me, and they shall give a truma, or etc. Or should take a truma. So the Zohar explains al mishum the kulachad, because the truma and myself are entirely one. Why? Because we said before that the truma is going on the Torah, and the Torah is Hashem's Ratzon and Chachma that's totally miyuchad with the Eibishter. So when we say v'yichuli, that is through and with the truma. The truma is the Torah. That the Torah's idea of truma that we take the Eibishter with. So inyan truma, aleph inyan Torah. That's the first idea of truma in the pasuk. The idea of Torah. So truma, oisius Torah, man. That's why also truma, the Zohar explains, is a combination of like two words. Torah, truma is the letters Tav Reish Vav Hey, that spells Torah. The little bit change around with the letters, and the letter mem inserted. So it's going on Yat Torah. It's the Torah that was given for 40 days over the 40-day period that Moshe Rabbeinu was not seen like Kedis Bazar. It's brought down the Zohar. So therefore, it makes sense the pasuk over here. V'yicholi truma, they will take me with the Torah that was given for 40 days, because when we're learning Torah, the Eibishter placed himself in the Torah, and therefore we are taking the Eibishter. So that's the idea of the first truma that it says in our pasuk, in our psukim. Yichuli truma is talking about the avodah of Torah. Inyan truma is the idea of the second truma. You will not be much of course, but the tikunim will be understood according to what it says in Tikkun Zoyar. The truma hainu treima meir. That truma means you could divide the word truma into two, and the Aramaic word for two is trei. That's 2 out of 100, or 1/50. So this is really the idea that the Gemara speaks about concerning the shear of how much a person is gives truma. The Chazal speak about that the Torah does not say and designate an amount how much truma one needs to give to the kohen. It says Meiser, it's 10%. Meiser Oni, Meiser Levi, Meiser Rishon, Meiser Sheni, all these things we know an amount. Truma, there's no designated amount. Technically, theoretically, you can give the tiniest bit and you're yotze truma. But the Chazal say there are 3 different levels. It's going to be important. He's going to mention this soon, of people that give truma. There are people that have a good eye. They're very generous. They give 1/40th of their crop. They give to truma. Then there's the average person who gives 1/50th. And then there's someone who's the opposite of a good eye. The Gemara uses more explicit language. He gives 1/60th. But the average person gives 1 out of 50, which is 2 out of 100. 1/50th is 2%. So there's a remez for this average giving of truma in the word truma itself, treima meya. But al pi Kabbalah, we speak about that there's the idea of treima meya that indicates a certain level in avodas Hashem. Avodas Adam, in the service of a Yid to the Eibishter, who in Mesiras Nefesh, the Kriyas Shema. That's the idea of the self-sacrifice of Kriyas Shema. Isa Bezar brought down the Zoyar. Trei Meya, what is the 2 out of 100? That we join and unite, and we say Echad. We join the oneness of the Eibishter. We have the total Mesiras Nefesh to the Eibishter twice a day. So what does it have to do with the number 100? Because the Hainu Trei Meya, the reason why it's 2 out of 100, the Memtas out from the Shema, Barashenk Bein Kusloim Boy, the Arvis, the Memtas out from the Shachris. There's 49 letters between Shema and Baruch Shem Kvoed M'Chus L'Olam V'Od. There's 25 letters in the pasuk Shema Yisrael, 24 letters in the pasuk Baruch Shem. Altogether, that's 49. And we have the mitzvahs aseh of saying Krishma in the morning, and we have mitzvahs aseh saying Krishma in the evening. So we have between 49 times 2, almost 100. So now we have really 98. Chisaron trei mimeya. It's missing 2 of 100. So those final 2s is the echad, the union. Inun shchinta ilav, shchinta tata. It's the level of the shchina above, the union of the shchina above, and the union of the shchina below. Betravayu tzarech liyachta l'kuchabrichu. In both of them, the upper shchina, the lower shchina, we have to join the Eibishter. Perhaps it's a similar to the idea of yichuda ilah, yichuda tata, the higher unity, the lower unity. Al kulpanim. So that's the trei mimeya, the unity and the oneness that we have by Krishma in the morning and Krishma in the evening. Another explanation of Trei Mimeya, of how it has connected with Kriyas Shema. We could also say the Trei Mimeya, who in base parshas the Krishma, the 2 out of 100, is talking about the 2 separate parshas of Kriyas Shema, Shema v'Hoyim Shemoya, the Shema and v'Hoyim Shemoya. So what do we find over here? The first Truma is talking about the idea of Torah. The second time it says Truma, that's the level of Trei Mimeya, talking about the self-sacrifice, the Mesiras Nefesh in Kriyas Shema, which is the apex and the general idea of davening. Now we're going to go into the third Truma, the Inyan Truma Gimel, and the third Truma that it says in the pasuk, Inyan Ma'isa Mitzvahs, the idea of the actions of mitzvahs, will come on, like the Maimon will explain, like the Rebbe will explain further. Now the Rebbe says, the Teruma Torah. This is not contradictory to what it says in Tanya earlier that Teruma is Torah, because Teruma is Torah Shenitna L'Mem Yom. It was the Torah was given to 40 days. So seemingly in Tanya he says Teruma is the idea of Torah, and here we say no. There's one Teruma that's Torah, another Teruma that's Kriyas Shema, and a third Teruma that's mitzvahs. The Rebbe says it's not contradictory. It's all part of the idea of Torah. Gam Beza Terumas. Kriyas Shema Ma'isa mitzvahs, also the 2 Terumas, top of the next page, which is the second 2 Terumas, which is talking about Kriyas Shema and the actions of mitzvahs. Shorsh Mitzvah Aleph Torah. They're all rooted, and they call it all comes from the first Teruma with the level of Torah. Maimer, like the Chazal say, God limit Shemay with their Ma'isa. The greatness of action is the greatness of studies that brings to action. So Torah is the source for all of them. So really, all of them can be hinted in the word Truma, which is Torah. Any questions before we go on? Okay, top of page Reish Yud Aleph, the second page, the second paragraph. Hine Gimel Trumas Hanal, and Gam Gimel Fanim Sheben Sinas Truma. These 3 Trumas that we spoke about, Torah, Kriyas Shema, and mitzvahs, are also expressed in the 3 ways that I mentioned earlier that a person would give Truma to the Kohen. Either a person could give Echad Marboim, they could give 1/40th of their crop. Either they could give Echad Mechamishim, they could give 2%, 1/50th of the crop. Or Echad Meshishim, someone that's really doesn't want to give much, he gives 1/60th. He says, Al Pi Chassidus, these different types of giving indicate the 3 different types of avoidance: Torah, Kriyas Shema, and mitzvah. How's that so? Echad Marboim, not Torah. 1 out of 40 is the idea of Torah. Okay, now, like we said before, the Truma is Torah Mem. The Truma are the letters, meaning the Torah of 40, Shezarayim is Gam Lechad Marboim. The Torah given the 40 also hints at the number and at the equation of 1 out of 40. Echad Mechamishim, 1 out of 50. That is Huina Kriyas Shema. That's the idea of Kriyas Shema. Okay, now, like we said before, the Truma Hainu Trei Mimeya. Truma means 2%. which is 1 out of 50. That's the idea of Kriya Shema, like we said before. And when we talk about 1 out of 60, it's the idea that's represented in the actions of mitzvah. Why is 1/60th representing the idea of mitzvahs? Is again, the Rebbe doesn't want to say the negative language that the Gemara uses. So he says that's why 1 out of 60 is a type of eye that's lower than the average eye. There's the good eye, there's the average eye, and then the Rebbe says the level lower than the average eye. That's 1/60. So what does that indicate? It says because the mitzvahs were enclosed in physical items, the physical matter. And the purpose of mitzvahs is to refine and elevate the physical matters. That's where it says 1 out of 60. We make from the 60 a vessel to the 1. What does it mean when we give 1 out of 60? 1 out of 60 means that there is 1 is being given away, and the rest of it, the 59, is being used personally. But as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, it's not just that 1 part that we're giving away to the Kohen is becoming elevated, but through giving away that 1 part, so all the 59 other parts become elevated as well. And therefore they become a vessel for the level of Echad, of Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The Rebbe says it's now inside, like it is in the simple matter of the idea. Through the separation of 1 out of 60, giving the Truma. We are releasing and making permitted the rest of the produce, the rest of the 60 for human consumption. The same thing, we are elevating all that 60 to the level of Echad. And the reason why it's considered an ayin that's lower than a good eye is because it's dealing with the physical. The physical is the lowest most level, so therefore it's represented by the eye that's the lowest most level. So we said 1 out of 52% is the idea of an average eye. In Kriya Shema, it's self-sacrifice. Moiser's nafshe abam is he devotes and he gives up his animal soul. It says with all your heart. It says 2 bases. That means both Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. The Gam Moiser nafshe lekis is also giving up to Hashem his godly soul. Concerning the nafshe lekis, that's who we are addressing when we're saying Shema Yisrael. Hear and listen, understand Yisrael. We're talking to the nafshe lekis. So therefore, it's the idea of the beinanis, the level of the using of the nefesh habahamis and the nefesh lekis together. That's but perhaps he means to say that's similar to the avodah of the beinani, that he uses both of them in his avodas Hashem. He's not yet conquered his nefesh habahamis. He's still avodas Hashem with both of them. But higher than this is the good eye, 1/40th, that's a level of Torah. Very interesting point. As great as self-sacrifice is, Torah is even higher than that. How come? Before Betanya Shama Zohar, like explained over there from the Tanya from the Zohar, that Torah and David are entirely one. Moisef Ein Shom Heitiv, and the Alter Rebbe adds, he says, look it up very well over there in the Zohar about how this is so, how we are the Torah joins us with the Eibishter and so on. By daily limud Torah, tafos advekes b'Hakadosh Baruch Hu, through Torah study, it's the ultimate cleaving and connection with Hashem. Is the cleaving of spirit to spirit in a way of kissing that the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, that's what occurs when we're learning Torah. Our minds and what's inside of it's not just our lips are joining Kaviyach with the lips of the Eibishter when we're saying words of Torah, But the understanding, looking and learning Torah in depth, that's even the inner part, the breath that's in us is being exchanged kaviyachol with Hashem's breath, like in a kiss, that the breath of the two people kissing become exchanged. So that is the idea of the higher level, the ayin yofa, the beautiful eye, meaning the greatest type of unity, the best type of joining with Hashem is the joining through Torah. All these three levels that we just now spoke about can be found, number Torah Atzmas, to be found in Torah itself. The idea of 160th, 150th, not just the 140th. So like we said earlier in the Maimer, that Torah is the source of everything. Like it's simply the simple idea how the Torah is the source of everything. That the command to study Torah and to daven and fulfill the mitzvahs. In a kol zel made in Torah. How do you know about Kriya Shema? How do you know about mitzvahs? All of this comes from Torah. That's why it's all sourced from Torah. So just like in the simple sense, they all come from Torah. So to spiritually, the actions of mitzvahs and davening, which is the idea of Kriya Shema, is rooted in Torah. That's what is explained in Mamorim. The Inyan Echad Meshishim, what says 1 out of 60, we see the number 60 has to do with Torah. Even though before we said Echad Meshishim is talking about mitzvahs, but we find Echad Meshishim itself is on Torah. Inyan Shisha Sidrei Mishnah is going on the 6 orders of the Mishnah, because there is the number 6 times 10, which are also the number of Masechtas, 60 Masechtas. What's the idea of the Mishnah is Shehem Halachas from the Torah Shmevar Mesadborim Gashmi. The Mishnah is about what we have to do. And when it says in the Lashon Chazal, whoever studies halachas every day, halachas in the time of the Gemara was referred to Mishnah. Because before there was Shulchan Aruch, before there was Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, what was the halacha? You looked up, you opened up a Mishnah, that was the halacha. So the Mishnah is the halachas of the Torah. And the halachas of the Torah refines and elevates and makes distinctions in the physical matters. Ma kosher, Torah, mutter, ma apostle, tami v'asur. What things are kosher and Torah and permitted, and what things are invalid, what things are impure, what things are prohibited. So therefore, it's the same thing, like we said before, that Echad Meshishim is going on the mitzvahs, but it's the way Echad Meshishim is going on the mitzvahs, the way they are sourced in Torah, in the halachas of Torah. So, but it says 1 out of 60. And we're bringing about the Shisha Sidra Mishnah. So it says, Chol Echad Meshisha Ela, Kol Miyut, every one of these 6. It includes in it 10. So you have altogether 60, 1 out of 60. Because 10 is the perfect number. So therefore, every one of these 6 Sidrei Mishnah has the number 10 in it. That's the idea of 1/60th of Torah. The Chazal explained that it says there's 60 are the queens. That's talking about the 60 Masechtas and Shas, or over here, it's the 6 Sidrei Mishnah, the way each one of them is made up of 10. So that's the 1/60th. The 1/60th is the idea of the mitzvahs the way they are on Torah. The Mishnah is and what's the 1 out of 50 that's in Torah? Referring to the 50 gates of Binah. And again, that's the idea of Havana and understanding, but understanding that has to do with evoking the emotions, the midas, the idea of Shema Yisrael. Because we know why. How do we get to the number 50 in Binah? Because you have the 49 midas, because you have 7 times 7 midas, the way they're part of Binah. And then Binah itself, so you have 50. So therefore you have the hisbonness that brings to Ava Yir. In other words, the avoid of Kriya Shema, the avoid of davening. The idea of 1 out of 40. And Torah itself, it's like we say that 40 years old is the one for understanding, that's the age for understanding. This is a ruling Libina, that specifically someone that is 40 years old has to do with the level of bin. The Rebbe goes on and says, we could say, according to what we explained previously, that these three levels are included in Torah. That these three levels are explained in the collection of Amarim of the Tzemach Tzedek that's called Torah. Truma, in addition to the fact that they are explained in the Amarim of the Tzemach Tzedek and Parshas Truma, they are also explained, these three levels, Gam B'Drusha Shvuas Davka, also in the Amarim of Shvuas and Parshas Bamidbar, in the Parsha in Chumash, Chumash and Parshas Bamidbar, the Rubam Kikulam, and the vast majority of this topic is explained by the Maskul B'Shoshik Dimi Yisrael Nasal and Nishma in the Maimer entitled when the Yidden prefaced and said Nas before Nishma is a Shaykh L'Matan Torah. That's connected to Matan Torah. Why does the Tzemach Tzedek include this topic there? Called Gimlei Fane Avodah now, Klulim B'Torah, Mekayim B'Torah, because all these three levels of Avodah are included in Torah, and their source is in the Torah as well. So one more paragraph before we open up the question. Just like it's in Torah, that also the Torah affects in the levels lower than it. As we said, Torah is even higher than Mesiras Nefesh because the yichud that there is with Hashem's will and wisdom that's completely one with it. So it affects the levels beneath it, philo mitzvahs, because as we said, davening and the mitzvahs, first of all, practically they are sourced in the Torah, and also spiritually they're sources from the Torah. So too, it's neshama in general, descended down below to refine the body and the animal soul in this portion of the world. And lower than that is the descent into this world itself. Not just, in other words, not just the descent to deal with the body and the animal soul. It's actually the very descent of this world. It's a descent both in place that it's dealing with this world and in the time it deals with the time of this world. I know when he descends from Eretz Yisrael, what does Eretz Yisrael symbolize? It does symbolize a complete connection with Hashem. Bechinas Eretz, the level of Eretz. Why is it called Eretz? It wanted to do the will of its maker. The fact that it's a land that wants to do the will of its maker. So that makes it a keli to the fact that Hashem's eyes are on it always from the beginning of the year. And it's called Eretz Chayfetz, land of desire. It's a land that Hashem desires. From that land of Eretz Yisrael, the neshama leaves and comes down here. That is the Yerida of a Makim in place. Gamma Yerida Bezman, also descent in time. Is mana biases, mana goals from the time, but the base on making sure the time of goals. In other words, that's what he's talking about, the Yerida in this world itself. I didn't explain this clearly. Even after the neshama comes down to the body to deal with the animal soul, to deal with the body, to deal with its portion of the world, then there's the Yerida in the world itself that leaves Eretz Yisrael, goes into Golus, goes over from a level of Eretz Yisrael, it's going from a time of the base of Migdash to the time of Golus. These descents are lower even than the descent of the neshama and the body in general. Why is it lower? Even when this world is in the perfect most state, in the time of Geula, not in the time of Golus, and so on, still it's called a deep dungeon, a deep pit. And then these descents, Ba'olam has a gufa, even after being in a deep pit. So in this world itself, then Yered L'chutz La'aretz Mana Golus, he descends to outside of Eretz Yisrael into the time of Golus. And even further, Befrat, even more so, specifically L'chaysh, a couple of to the double and quadruple darkness of the heels of Mashiach. became still in all. This descent is for the sake of an ascent, of an elevation. Through the darkness we come to the additional light that comes out of the darkness. And the greater wisdom that comes out of the foolishness. Like the Zohar says, become sublimated. So the glory of the Eibush to rise up in all the worlds. But that Yuvan Gambing in our Torah, so it's understood concerning Torah. Through its descending below its level, to go into davening and to go into mitzvahs. That we come to the ultimate perfection and height of the idea of Torah.